I'll tell you, every time I introduce our next guest, it's Lavar Arrington, by the way, I just feel compelled because I saw him in person at Penn State. I have to preface it with one of the best college players that I've ever seen. Lavar, Tiki, and Tierney, how you doing, buddy? What's happening?
Good morning, guys. How you guys feeling?
Doing okay, man. How are you?
Good. Very well, thank you.
Good deal,
Hello,
man.
Tiki. How are you doing,
I'm
sir?
good, man. You know, I wanted to get you on for a couple of reasons. Obviously, to talk football and your Redskins and things of that nature. But you're doing something with your extreme precision training camps, which I didn't. I kind of forgot that you founded this a couple of years ago. This has kind of gotten crazy. This is with eighth graders, and you're doing a big event down in January of 2017. But is youth football gotten this big that it's national in this method?
That's awesome that you bring it up, and it has been a journey, and it has been a great journey. And yes, I work very closely with Under Armour. This year, we're doing a eighth grade. It's called the All Stars Bowl. It's an eighth grade All Star game that is in collaboration with the UA All American game during that week. Yes, football is that big, and when I tell you, we have guys that are 6'3" plus, 300 pounds plus.
In eighth grade?
Size 18 shoes in the eighth grade.
18?
We have
Did he say
kids
18?
that are running 4.4 40s, 4.5 40s. This is a collection of the most gifted and talented. If Professor Xavier had a mutants game that he brought all the best mutants around the world or around the country to come compete, this would be the equivalent of that. So
Wow.
it's pretty exciting. You know, it came from teaching the fundamentals, helping raise the standard of how the game of football is being played. It has turned into now we pick out elites within our camp series. So you could go on to social media, Twitter or Instagram, and check out All Stars. It's All Stars with 2 1s, A11 stars, all 11. You need all 11 to get out there so you can win. So it's All Stars Bowl. You can check it out, but it's a beautiful thing, and we're really excited. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity.
Yeah,
to
no,
let
that
people
sounds
know
good. I
about
mean, listen, though, size 18 feet and 4.4 40s and ice. Can you teach these kids how to tackle? Because I watched the NFL on Sunday, and what in the world? I mean, the first thing that jumps to my mind, the Buccaneers, I mean, that final play, the walk-off 6, was disgraceful, the way that he wasn't tackled. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's frightening how guys don't tackle anymore.
Well, it's not only frightening, but then you see some of the targeting that's taking place where guys are getting ejected out of games. And it's interesting because the higher we see, the higher levels we see guys play, we assume that these guys know what they're doing. We assume they know the fundamentals. And it's so funny because if you live a life of fundamentals, it's like dragging your fingers down a chalkboard watching how some of these guys are playing. And some of them are really good. And that's what makes it even more interesting. So for you to talk about the tackling aspect of it, it is a lost art. Tackling is a lost art. Playing fundamentally sound football is a lost art. And generally speaking, I always say people wonder why the New England Patriots are able to win consistently. You watch the way they play. You watch the way their offensive linemen block. You watch the way that their quarterback plays. You watch the way that their receivers play. You watch the way their defenders play. These guys play the game at such a high level, fundamentally sound in how they prepare for the game, fundamentally sound in how they execute techniques on the field, just fundamentally sound. And that's why it's very difficult for teams to deal with them. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is something that has to be addressed because obviously all of the health issues that are surrounding the game and different things like that. You mentioned when I was coming on the show, a lot of injuries. All my injuries were my knees. You know, a 255-pound man running hard, running fast, my knees gave out. I never succumbed to poor tackling or anything like that. You know, Tiki knows that. I never hurt Tiki while I was tackling him.
No.
I tackled him hard, and I got him to the ground, but it was always fundamentally and technically sound. So, and that's taking care of yourself, and that's taking care of the guys that you're playing against. So that's something that has to be back in the game at some point, and hopefully people are paying attention enough to it to make sure that they address it.
Did he ever give you a nice mush? Did he ever give you a nice stiff
Nah,
arm,
man, I couldn't
little mush
stiffy.
to the face?
I wasn't strong enough to stiffy. And Lavar is massive. I mean,
Yeah, he's a big boy.
There's always respect with Tiki. Now some guys you have to go ahead and have one of those type of drag out, downright, fight days, and it wasn't always clean and pretty. But I looked at it as more of a chess match between me and Tiki when we went head to head.
That's true.
Nice.
Hey, Lavar, did you Norv Turner was your head coach, right?
My rookie year.
Yeah, your rookie year. And I don't know, you probably don't know him that well because he left, I think, not too soon after that. But when you see what happened in Minnesota, like just today, a few hours ago, he resigns, and it's likely some sort of power struggle between him and Pat Shermer, who took over the interim. How does that affect the team? It's one thing when your head coach, your head coach is getting fired and whatever, and the guys have to figure out what's going to happen next. But in season, I get a little bit of underperformance. The guy gets not only demoted, I mean, he's gone. He resigns. What does this do to this Minnesota Vikings team who we thought was going to be really good this year?
Well, I think they still have an opportunity to be good. That's probably the one saving grace that the team has, is that they're not in the cellar. Now you're talking about, and I guess we still had an opportunity to make the playoffs in 2000, my rookie year, when we were supposed to be Super Bowl bound, and that ended up being the Giants that ended up going that year. But the interesting thing was we brought in all those free agents, from Deion Sanders to Bruce Smith. Me and Chris Samuels were in the draft. Like, this was like a loaded team that was built in D.C. And you know what? For one reason or another, again, I'm a civilian this year for the first time in maybe 6 or 7 years since I've been retired. I'm not covering teams as a media personality. So just as a civilian, I don't want to talk bad or throw shade at the Redskins organization. But just speaking as going through it, there was just too many Chiefs and not enough, Indians. And that was really the reality of it. Is you got to have a structured chain of command, and it has to be sticking to the plan. And there's going to be good times, there's going to be bad times, there's going to be quiet times. Through all of it, you have to stick together. You have to maintain the plan. If the plan needs adjusting, then it has to be a collective agreement. There has to be a way that, okay, here's where the idea or the solution came from. Let's talk about it. Boom, boom, boom. Here's collectively what we decided should happen, and then you go from there. I just think that a lot of times people are looking for credit in places that they just don't need credit. And once you find yourself in that situation where there's too many people that are searching for certain things, validation, whatever it may be, job security, because it is a volatile industry. You're here today, you're gone tomorrow. Your family is in Minnesota. Now they may be in San Diego the next month. They may be in Texas the next month, the next year. So when people look at how volatile front office and coaching staff jobs, positions really are, then you start to wonder or try to understand why decisions are made so abruptly, why they're made so quickly. It's because people's tails are on the line as well. So, it impacted our team my rookie year, and we had Terry Rubisky. He did a good job of trying to rally the troops. Ray Rhodes was the defensive coordinator. He did a good job of trying to rally the troops. If we had a kicker, we may have came through it a little bit better. But does it change the dynamic of how the team is operating and what's going on? It certainly does. There's no getting around that. When you take away a leader, someone who has established respect, someone who has established some continuity and consistency, whenever you change that, you're going to have to deal with the repercussions that go along with it. So they're going to have to try to manage that the best that they can. And if they have enough professionals on the field, then they will be able to get through it. If they don't, then we'll be able to see it. It'll become very evident in the weeks to come.
Yeah. Lavar Arrington with us here on Tiki and Tierney. We're kind of up against it, but I wanted to run this by you really quick here. You mentioned no TV, radio commitments for the first time in a while, so you get to just be a fan and I would imagine that that's extended back into your college days. You get back to Happy Valley at all? And were you there? Have you been there at all?
I'm coaching Long Beach Poly High linebackers, so I have been actually crazy busy, trying to develop these kids. I don't just talk about it; I live it. So I volunteer my time to go over there. Antonio AP is the head coach.
Yep.
Tiki, so
Is he really?
Yeah. No, they've been really good out there too. Like really good.
We took it on against IMG last week, but we're pushing for the playoffs and we'll bounce back. But I told everybody about Penn State when we lost to Pitt. We had a couple rough spots early on. So look, we got a new offensive coordinator. I think he's a fine coordinator. I think James Franklin is a fine head coach. He just needs time. He's done an amazing job of getting in some bright young stars for the future of this team. There's some developing stars on the team right now with guys like Brandon Bell. Saquon Barkley is probably, in my opinion, should be in the conversation of best running back in the country right now. I mean, you got Peppers, you got Fournette, you got a couple guys out there, but Saquon Barkley should be in the conversation. Marcus Allen is Cam Chancellor type of safety on the defensive side of the ball. He's someone that should be in the conversation of top safeties in the country. So there are players scattered all around that team. They were dealing with injuries early on and just building that continuity on offense. McSorley can play quarterback. So they just needed a little time, and they're on a tear right now. A lot of people wanted to fire Franklin. A lot of people were down on the team. But we just talked about it earlier with the interim head coaches. You got to give guys the opportunity to see it through, to stick to the plan, to stick to the process, because you just never know. It's like that illustration of getting to the gold, right? You got the one guy that's hammering and chiseling. He stops and turns around. You can see that the goal is right there. The other guy is still hammering and chiseling away, and he's probably going to be the one that gets it. So you just got to maintain the course, and I think that's what's happening in State College, and it looks like the turnaround is taking place. So it's a tough game against Iowa this week, but I think that they've done an amazing job of really turning their season into something special. And
no, they have.
People are starting to buy in.
Yeah, they have.
Big win.
Yeah, no doubt. We're late, but I know we're going to plug that for you again, Lavar. Nice job, bud.
Under Armour
so
All-Star. Thank you, Lavar. Under Armour All-Star or A11-Star Bowl game. Nation's top 8th graders, Florida, on January 1st, 2017. Appreciate you, and good luck with Extreme Precision, which is actually a really cool concept, man.
He sounds like a coach.
Yeah.
He sounds like a coach.